What if the ticket you're about to book never takes off the way you expect? What if the delay you think is just weather is actually something much bigger, something unfolding far beyond the airport walls? Right now, as you're planning your next trip, a silent shift is happening across global air routes, and most travelers have no idea. Airports don't panic. Airlines don't openly warn you. But behind the scenes, things change fast. Routes are quietly adjusted. Flight paths are redrawn overnight. And when a geopolitical crisis begins to intensify, especially in a region as critical as the Middle East, it doesn't just stay there. It spreads through the invisible highways of the sky. Think about this: why do so many international flights pass through or near Middle Eastern airspace? It's not random. It's because this region sits at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and Africa. It's the backbone of global aviation efficiency. Now imagine that backbone under pressure. What happens when airlines are forced to avoid certain zones? Flights become longer, fuel costs rise, layovers increase, and suddenly, your simple trip becomes complicated. But here's what most people don't realize: when tensions rise, the first thing airlines protect is not your schedule, it's safety and cost. That means last-minute cancellations, sudden reroutes, unexpected stopovers in cities you never planned to visit. Have you ever wondered why a flight gets delayed without a clear explanation? Why the announcement feels vague, almost rehearsed? Because sometimes, the real reason isn't something they can fully explain in a single sentence. And now, as we move into 2026, the stakes are getting higher. April isn't just another month, it's a turning point. Increased military activity, restricted airspaces, and shifting alliances can trigger a chain reaction across global travel. One closed corridor in the Middle East can affect flights from London to Bangkok, from New York to Dubai, from Kuala Lumpur to Istanbul. It's all connected. So ask yourself this: is your next trip truly as secure and predictable as it seems? Or are you stepping into a system that's quietly adjusting beneath your feet? There are also hidden layers most travelers never see. Insurance policies that suddenly change coverage zones. Airlines updating their risk maps daily. Airports preparing contingency plans they never announce publicly. Even ticket prices, you think they rise because of demand. Or could it be because routes are becoming more expensive and complex to operate? And here's the most unsettling part: these changes don't always happen gradually. Sometimes, they happen overnight. One day, everything is normal. The next day, your flight is rerouted, delayed, or even cancelled, without warning. And you're left wondering, why didn't I see this coming? Because the truth is, global travel isn't just about destinations anymore. It's about geopolitics, strategy, and risk. And right now, all three are shifting. So before you confirm your next booking, before you pack your bags thinking everything is under control, take a moment to think deeper. Stay informed. Watch the patterns. Because the smartest travelers are not the ones who travel the most, they are the ones who understand what's happening behind the scenes. This is not fear. This is awareness. And as the world moves closer to an uncertain April 2026, one question remains: will you travel blindly, or will you travel prepared? Because in times like these, the difference between a smooth journey and a disrupted one is not luck. It's knowledge. Middle East airspace is not just another region on the aviation map, it is one of the most strategically vital corridors in the world, quietly supporting the movement of thousands of flights every single day. Positioned at the intersection of Europe, Asia, and Africa, this region enables airlines to operate the shortest and most fuel-efficient routes between major global cities. From London to Bangkok, from New York to Dubai, and from Kuala Lumpur to Istanbul, a significant portion of long-haul traffic depends on these skies. But what happens when this critical pathway begins to tighten under geopolitical pressure? Airlines are among the first to respond, often making rapid adjustments long before the public becomes fully aware. The moment tensions escalate or certain zones are deemed unsafe, flight paths are recalculated, sometimes within hours. These are not minor changes. A rerouted aircraft may need to travel hundreds or even thousands of extra kilometers, avoiding restricted or high-risk areas. This shift may seem invisible to passengers, yet it fundamentally alters the dynamics of global travel. Flight durations extend, fuel consumption rises, and operational complexity increases. And all of this begins far above the clouds, out of sight. Consider the precision required in modern aviation. Every route is carefully optimized to balance time, fuel efficiency, weather conditions, and air traffic density. When a key corridor like the Middle East becomes unstable, that balance is disrupted. Airlines must coordinate with multiple international aviation authorities, secure new clearances, and navigate increasingly congested alternative routes. The skies that once offered seamless connectivity suddenly become crowded, forcing aircraft to maintain greater distances and accept less efficient paths. The question then becomes, how much flexibility does the system really have when one of its central arteries is under strain? For the traveler, these changes rarely come with full transparency. A longer flight time might be explained as operational adjustments, while the deeper reality remains unspoken. Yet behind that simple delay lies a complex web of decisions driven by safety, geopolitics, and cost management. What appears to be a routine journey may, in fact, be carefully navigating a shifting global landscape. Airspace restrictions rarely remain confined to a single region. Instead, they trigger a cascading effect that reshapes flight operations far beyond their point of origin. When even a limited portion of Middle Eastern airspace becomes unavailable or high risk, airlines are forced to redirect traffic into alternative corridors that were never designed to handle such sudden volume. This creates an immediate imbalance. Routes over neighboring regions, Central Asia, the Mediterranean, or parts of Eastern Europe, begin to experience congestion, forcing air traffic controllers to manage increased density with extreme precision. The system, which depends on timing and spacing measured in seconds, starts to stretch under pressure. What makes this dynamic particularly complex is the interconnected nature of global aviation. A delay in one sector does not stay isolated, it travels. Aircraft arriving late into a hub airport disrupt departure schedules, crew rotations, and aircraft availability. One delayed inbound flight can ripple through an entire network, affecting connections across continents. Have you ever noticed how a disruption in one part of the world suddenly appears on departure boards thousands of miles away? This is not coincidence, it is the architecture of a system where everything is linked. As rerouted flights compete for limited airspace, airlines must accept less efficient altitudes, longer holding patterns, or even temporary ground delays before departure. Each of these adjustments adds minutes, sometimes hours, to a journey that was originally optimized for speed and precision. Meanwhile, airports receiving this overflow face increased pressure on runways, gates, and ground services. The result is a subtle but powerful chain reaction, where a single restriction evolves into widespread disruption. For passengers, the experience often feels disconnected from its true cause. A delay appears routine, an extended flight time seems minor, yet beneath these surface changes lies a highly coordinated system absorbing shock in real time. Behind every ticket price displayed on a booking screen lies a complex financial structure that most travelers never see. And during periods of geopolitical tension, that structure begins to shift in subtle but significant ways. Aviation operates on tight margins even in stable conditions, with fuel alone accounting for a substantial portion of total operating costs. When aircraft are forced to take longer, indirect routes to avoid sensitive airspace, fuel consumption rises immediately. A journey that was once optimized for efficiency becomes a calculation of compromise, where every additional mile directly impacts profitability. This is where the pressure begins to build. Airlines cannot absorb these costs indefinitely, especially across long-haul international networks. Instead, they start adjusting pricing models, sometimes gradually, sometimes almost overnight. What appears to passengers as a routine fluctuation in fares may, in reality, reflect deeper operational challenges. Is it simply demand driving prices higher, or is it the hidden cost of navigating a more complex and uncertain global environment? The situation becomes even more intricate when factoring in insurance and risk assessment. Flights passing near or around regions of heightened tension often carry increased insurance premiums, adding another layer of expense. At the same time, airlines must allocate additional resources for contingency planning, crew management, and real-time monitoring systems. Each of these elements contributes to a rising cost base that is rarely visible but consistently present. Passengers may notice fewer direct routes, higher ticket prices, or limited availability without fully understanding the underlying cause. Yet every change reflects a broader financial reality. Aviation is adapting to conditions that are no longer predictable. The price of a ticket is no longer just about distance or demand, it is increasingly shaped by risk, strategy, and the shifting landscape of global stability. Modern aviation is supported by highly advanced risk management systems that operate continuously, analyzing global events in real time and translating them into operational decisions within minutes or even seconds. These systems are not static charts or simple advisory tools. They are dynamic intelligence networks that integrate data from governments, military updates, satellite monitoring, and aviation authorities. When geopolitical conditions shift, especially in strategically sensitive regions like the Middle East, these systems immediately begin recalculating flight safety parameters and route viability. What makes this process so significant is its speed and discretion. Airlines often adjust flight paths long before any public announcement is made. A route that was considered safe in the morning can be modified by evening, not because of visible disruption, but due to updated risk assessments being fed into these systems. Have you ever wondered why a flight suddenly changes altitude, deviates slightly from its expected path, or takes longer than scheduled without a clear explanation given to passengers? In many cases, the answer lies in these behind-the-scenes calculations. The system does not rely on a single source of information. Instead, it aggregates multiple layers of intelligence, cross-checking airspace advisories, conflict proximity, electronic interference reports, and diplomatic warnings. This allows airlines to make decisions that prioritize safety while also balancing operational efficiency. However, the complexity of this process means that outcomes can change rapidly, sometimes affecting flights already en route. In rare situations, aircraft may be diverted mid-journey, redirected to alternate airports, or placed on holding patterns until clearance is confirmed. For passengers, these adjustments often appear sudden or unexplained, but within aviation control centers, they are the result of continuous monitoring and rapid decision-making. The question that naturally arises is how much of modern air travel is truly fixed in advance, and how much is being actively reshaped in real time while the journey is already in motion. Passenger experience during geopolitical instability often reflects only a fraction of the complexity unfolding behind the scenes. Airports may still appear orderly, flights continue to depart, and announcements follow routine procedures, yet beneath this surface normality, a highly coordinated contingency system is constantly active. Every disruption, whether minor or significant, triggers a series of operational responses involving airport authorities, airline control centers, and international aviation coordinators working in parallel to maintain stability across the network. When regions experience heightened tension, flight operations become increasingly sensitive to external developments. Crew scheduling, aircraft positioning, and alternate landing strategies must all be recalculated with greater frequency. A single aircraft delay is no longer an isolated event. It becomes part of a larger operational adjustment that may affect multiple flights across different continents. Have you ever noticed how a delay at one airport suddenly impacts connecting flights thousands of kilometers away? This is the result of tightly interconnected scheduling systems that leave very little room for disruption. Behind the calm environment of airport terminals, there are often real-time discussions taking place regarding airspace permissions, rerouting approvals, and diplomatic clearances. These decisions are not always communicated in detail to passengers, not due to lack of transparency, but because the information is constantly evolving. What is accurate at one moment may change within the next operational update. This creates a situation where airlines must balance clarity with caution, ensuring safety while managing passenger expectations. In some cases, contingency plans that are rarely used in normal conditions become temporarily active, including alternative diversion airports, extended ground handling arrangements, and revised crew duty rotations. Passengers may only experience this as waiting time or schedule adjustment, but for aviation systems, it represents a carefully managed response to unpredictable external pressures. The future of global travel is increasingly being shaped by forces that extend far beyond tourism, convenience, or even traditional economics. Aviation has entered an era where geopolitical developments, regional stability, and shifting international relations play a central role in determining how people move across continents. A single corridor becoming restricted can influence not just one airline, but entire global networks, forcing a rethinking of how efficiency and safety are balanced in real time. As conditions evolve, airlines are no longer operating in a purely predictable environment. Instead, they are functioning within a constantly adjusting framework where routes, schedules, and operational strategies must remain flexible. This means that the idea of a fixed flight path is becoming less absolute. Have you ever considered that the route your aircraft takes might not be the same one planned just hours earlier? In many cases, adjustments happen quietly, shaped by new intelligence, updated airspace advisories, or emerging regional developments that rarely reach public discussion. At the same time, airports and aviation authorities are investing more heavily in adaptive infrastructure and advanced monitoring systems. These tools are designed not only to respond to disruptions but to anticipate them before they fully materialize. However, prediction in a complex geopolitical environment is never perfect. This uncertainty forces the aviation industry to prioritize resilience over rigidity, ensuring that systems can absorb shocks without complete breakdown. For travelers, this evolving reality introduces a new dimension to planning journeys. Booking a flight is no longer just a matter of selecting dates and destinations, it is increasingly an entry into a global system influenced by dynamic external pressures. The experience of travel is becoming more connected to global events than ever before, raising an important consideration about how closely individual movement is tied to the broader stability of the world.